Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, I've been talking about Spright, I was gonna say a fair bit lately. I'm always talking about Spright, but usually I only cover like one Spright video per season. This season we've already looked at a couple of Adventure Spright variants, but I wanted to take a look at Twin Spright once again as well, because I've noticed this deck, especially lately, has actually been getting a little more tournament tops. I don't necessarily think it's because of, like, you know, this deck suddenly being a lot better. I think it's just like people happening to use it and doing well with it lately. But in the comments of my last couple of Spright videos, people were definitely saying that they thought Twin Spright was the strongest variant, and I definitely am inclined to agree. I really like Adventure Spright. I like the combo lines that it can do. But, I mean, to be fair, there are reasons to play Adventure Spright over Twin Spright. I don't think that Twin Spright is, like, just strictly better, but I do think that it is overall going to be a higher power level, and I think the main reason for that is because the live twin cards, right? These are like a one-card combo line, and there are, not only are we playing 3 of each of those, we also have so many different ways to search them that, you know, I think that's what makes this variant a lot more consistent, and then thereby just stronger overall, right? Because Adventure Spright, and the problem that Spright ends up having a lot of the time, I think the deck's biggest, or the archetype's biggest weakness overall, is that it's not easy for it to do one-card combos. You usually need, like, a level 2 and a Spright, or just something that puts out multiple level 2s, right? Which, when Nimble Beaver was at 3, it was a lot easier. I just feel like I'm like that meme, right, from Fairly Odd Parents, like, this is where I play my Nimble Beavers, if I had them. But no. Yeah, I think with Nimble Beaver going to 1, you know, the twin variant is the one that can now most consistently actually do one-card combo lines. So I think that's what ultimately ends up making it the best one overall. The twin variant does also have a lot of other cool and fun stuff it can play, like Nightmare Griffin. I finally crafted this card. The last few times I've played, well, actually every other time I've played this deck, have not been using the Nightmare Griffin, but I do have it now. So this card is pretty strong. It's also a Fiend, so even if you are Fiend locked, you can still make this, which makes it a great IP target for the deck, right? But basically what Nightmare Griffin does, in addition to being able to discard a card and set a spell trap from the graveyard, that's kind of like whatever, but the main effect we're looking for here is the last one. Special summoned monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked. So this, again, ends up being really good to go into during your opponent's turn, because it means that they will very unlikely be very unlikely to be able to establish a board there. The other kind of cool thing you can do is that you can put Nightmare Griffin in your main monster zone under Spright Elf too. That way you're not only giving it target protection, but you're also not pointing up into the opponent's main monster zone, giving them a space in which they can, you know, activate effects, right? Because linked means if a link monster is pointing to it. Co-link is if 2 link monsters are pointing to each other, but if it just says linked or link monster, or, you know, if a monster is linked, that only means that an arrow has to be pointing one direction. It doesn't have to be going both ways, right? So yeah, so there is that. In order to do that combo line, you do need to open a twin plus like any other Spright monster as an extender, just to be able to have enough bodies to do the elf and the IP, and then also make the twins, right? Because you would link off IP and then either Evil Twin Kisakil or Leela, and then use that to go for the Griffin underneath the elf. But I didn't have any games. I really wanted to show off a game where I did that line, like cleanly, but of course, you know, in practice your opponent's gonna have disruption, and you know, you're not going to open always the best hand, so I wasn't able to have a combo line where I do that cleanly, but I do have a game where I summon Nightmare Griffin, so I think we'll start with that. I also had a lot of duels where I just, like, beat up on Snake Eye. That's kind of going to be actually the main theme of this video, so we're going to have a total of 3, you heard me right, not 1, not 2, but 3 games in which we take on the best deck of the format, and spoiler alert, we win all of them. So this deck is actually pretty well poised against Snake Eye in in particular because of how much disruption it can play. You might notice that we're on 3 Valor and 3 Imperm and 2 Nibiru. All 3 of these cards are very good against Snake Eye because if you can negate their Snake Eye Ash, that has an about 50% chance to just end their turn. So trading 1 hand trap to end the turn of the best deck of the format 50% of the time, it's a pretty good deal. Not only that, but Nib is also very, very high value against the deck. You just have to wait a little bit and be patient and not just like shotgun it on the 5th summon. If you Nib Snake Eye on the 5th summon, yeah, it's terrible for you. And in fact, you, in some very rare circumstances, actually improve their board by doing so. However, if you wait until after they've used pretty much all of Flamberge's effect, and ideally Divine Temple as well, then you can Nib them and you'll just take away everything, including like their life savings, right? So Nib is really, really good against Snake Eye. You just have to use it well. You can't just shotgun it as soon as the game tells you you're able to activate it. We also have room for the triple tax as well, which of course is great. Funnily enough, we could even be playing more gas, but I actually had to cut back on how much gas I was playing. Like, we could of course be playing more Sunny Stitches and Secret Passwords, as well as the... I will say the Leela Treat, I'm only playing Kissekio Frost, but Leela Treat would not be terrible here. I could see a world where I go down to 1 Nibiru, and then I play... I can actually show you which monster I'm talking about here. Go down to 1 Nibiru and then play a Leela Treat instead. Because there are some games where if you open, like, for example, Kissekil plus Sunny Snitch, right? And your Kissekil gets Ash Blossom, you could potentially use the Sunny Snitch to add Leela Treat, special her, and then do your combo line anyway. You could also do that the other way around with Leela, right? If you open Leela Sunny Stitch, you can add the Kissekil Frost. The reason I'm playing Frost but not Leela Treat is because Frost actually has a very relevant graveyard effect of getting to draw a card whenever your opponent searches. Leela Treat just does like, yeah, a little bit of burn. No, it's not even burn. It makes your opponent's monster lose attack equal to battle damage you take. It's like, you know. It's very, very situational for the second effect, but for the extension, that actually did have a few games where I kind of wish I was playing Leela Treat. The thing is, though, like I said, and this is something that I've talked about before, but I don't hear a lot of other people talking about, is that I think it's really important to pay attention to, like, your gas to disruption ratio, especially for best of 1 in Master Duel, right? Like, you know, like I said, I could be maxing out on Sunny Stitches and Secret Passwords and also be playing Leela's Treat, but then I think I'm running too few hand traps, right? I still want to have a lot of hand traps for not only going second, but again, for a deck that can potentially have 1-card combo lines, even if you would prefer to have, like, you know, a 2-card combo line, you have room to play a ton of hand traps because you could potentially open one engine piece and then, well, 4 hand traps. And it's like, that's really, really good. Or opening, you know, 1 engine piece plus a few hand traps and then something like Call By or Crossout or Triple Tack, you know? It's, I think it's very important to consider, for sure. Also, you might be wondering why 2 Sunny Stitch and 1 Secret Password. Why can't you just play 3 Sunny Stitch? You could totally just play 3 Sunny Stitch, but I like 2 Sunny Stitch, 1 Secret Password a little bit better because it plays better into Ash Blossom in certain situations, right? It's very, 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 very specific, but if you open both Secret Password and a Sunny Snitch, you can lead with a Secret Password and your opponent might Ash it, right? Whereas if you open 2 of these, you can only activate 1 per turn, so it's like, you know, it just kind of makes sense to play 1 if you have it. It's also a UR, so if you don't, you could just play a playset of this, and that's totally fine too. I guess you could also cut one of the spells and play Leela Treat, but I don't really like doing that because Leela Treat is purely an extender, and these spells are actually like 1-card starters, being able to search the main Kissekil and Leela, which are then, of course, the 1-card plays. So, let's see. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about this build. It's a relatively standard build. I'm not doing anything too crazy or too wild here, except for beating up on all these Snake Eye decks, which let's break this list down card by card, and then we'll see us doing that. So, we're on 3 Effect Valor, 3 Maxi, 3 Live Twin Kissekil, 3 Live Twin Leela, 1 Live Twin Kissekil Frost, 2 Spright Blue, 1 Spright Jet, 2 Spright Red, 2 Spright Carrot, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Secret Password, 2 Live Twin Sunny Stitch, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Gamma Burst, 1 Spright Smashers, and then 3 Infinite Impermanents. So that's going to be our main deck. For the extra, we're on 2 Gigantic Spright, 1 number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito, 1 Downward Magician, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Evil Twin Kissekeel. We got 2 Evil Twin Leela, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Nightmare Griffin, 1 Evil Twins Trouble Sunny, and then finally 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So there's our list. Let's see these duels now. Okay, so our first opponent here, as I mentioned, a lot of our opponents, almost all of them, are going to be on Snake Eye. For this first game, as always as ever, I'm just going to start by showing you a pretty standard turn 1 line here. So this is one of those hands where I would have liked to have had the Leela treat, potentially, for the Live Twin Sunny Stitch. I'll activate that first and see if I can bait out like an Ash Blossom, but yeah, I'll just summon the Leela I added and going for the Kissekeel Frost there. Then I'm going to overlay them for the Gigantic Spright. Gigantic Spright's going to activate the effect to summon out Spright Blue from the deck. Blue is going to summon, or add the Jet, rather. Special Jet, Jet F for the starter. I can then link off 2 of my monsters here to summon out a Spright Elf. Then it's pretty simple Spright stuff. I'm going to bring back a monster with Elf, link it with Jet, starter for either Red or Carrot, and then pass. But you can see here that if I had had an extra material, right, basically, if I'd had extra material, like an extra Spright monster, I would not use the Kissekeel Frost to make IP. I would use it to, I'd use my other monsters to make IP, and then use Frost and my remaining extender to make the Evil Twin Kissekeel. That would bring back the Live Twin Leela, then I can make Evil Twin Leela, and then Evil Twin Kissekeel. I will have another game where I show something kind of like that, but starting off with just, again, a standard kind of 1-card combo line. So, what is going to use the Wanted? I'm going to chain the Elf and bring back, which one was it? Jet, yeah, of course. I like bringing back Jet because then I can search starter, and I like having starter a little bit more than a Spright monster off of blue because it's just easier to make plays a lot of the time, right? But it's going to Raigeki me. Wow, I did not expect at all to see Raigeki from Snake Eye, but we can play around this. I'm going to use my IP and just link off my whole board because I'm going to lose it anyway, right? And then I'm going for the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which can not only not be destroyed by card effects because of IP, but also is only affected by stuff that targets, like the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. So there is that. What's going to Diabel, sending a Jet Synchron from the hand, activating the effect to set the original Sin. Not going to use my Imperm or my Ash Blossom even just yet. I'm going to wait for the Snake Eye Ash. Snake Eye Ash is activating, and you'll note that I chose to use my Imperm instead of Ash Blossom here. The reason I'm Imperming the Snake Eye Ash is because if you Ash Blossom it, it can still use the second effect, sending 2 face-up cards to the graveyard and summoning a Snake Eye from the deck. I definitely don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to Imperm this, and if they have more extension, I can probably Ash it, and if they really, really have more extension, well, I have a Nibiru in my hand too, so I'm not at all concerned here. Alright, so Imperm, like I said, negating both effects of Snake Eye, or every effect of Snake Eye Ash, right? Opponent is going to use the Wanted. I'm actually going to take a chance here and Ash Blossom this draw, because I feel like my opponent was pretty desperate, and I didn't know if I was going to get to use Ash Blossom otherwise, so I was a little risky, but I decided to just take a chance and go for it anyway. Opponent's going to link off their Snake Eye Ash for a Link Rainbow before passing. Yeah, oh no, battling, because it is turn 2. Battling into us for 300. Oof, ow. And then passing back over to us, so... Oh yeah, we just have a ton of plays at this point. We already have the Live Twin Kissekeel in our hand, and that starter we searched for, and then just top decking a blue is like, you know, mwah, love it. Gonna get the red here in case they have a Nibiru, then link off for the Spright Elf, and then, oh my god, they actually had the Nibiru. Thank god we got that Spright Red, because would have definitely not liked to have tried to play around that, although we probably could have done something here because we have the Spright starter as well. Anyway, Elf F is going to bring back the Jet. Jet F is going to add... I'm just going to get the Gamma Burst here, because I'm just going to go for lethal, right? Spright Starter, going to summon a Carrot. Going to overlay the Elf and Jet for the Gigantic, mostly to get the 3200 body, and just get more attack points up. Then we're going to use the Gigantic F to get it literally any level 2, it doesn't matter. Going to lead with Kissekeel into the Link Rebo, let it reduce the attack to 0, then Gamma Burst, so that way Kissekeel can still battle for 1400. Smack him with a Gigantic, and then the either one of the remaining sprites for lethal. So there you go. That's an extremely typical / ideal twin Spright game, right? We started off turn 1 with the 1-card combo line. We disrupted our opponent with all of our stuff, and then came back with the Gamma Burst OTK. A classic textbook game from Twin Spright. Let's see a game that's a lot more back and forth now. Let's look at the next one here. Okay, so this is a really epic duel, I'm not gonna lie. This is a 10-turn going second game against Snake Eye. I played this duel on stream and it was tense. Holy shit. This would have been a phenomenal going first hand. Opponent's gonna lead with a normal summon Maxi equipped Makonko. That's right, it's not just Snake Eye, it's Makonko Snake Eye. So they lead with normal summon Maxi, equip Aberrask, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll use my Ash Blossom against that. That makes sense. They've already used their normal summon. It's Makonko. What else could they possibly have left remaining in their hand that they could do here? Well, what they have is original Sinful Spoils, which is going to send to the Aberrask and special summon Snake Eye Ash from deck. And at this point, I was like, oh, that's not good. It's actually less good than you might even realize. But anyway. They're going to add and then summon Poplar. Poplar will, of course, add the Divine Temple because they already used Original Sin. Placing the Flamberge in the Spell Trap Zone, going for Link Kuriboh. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of pretty typical Snake Eye stuff now, after they've done the Makonko stuff. See, a 60-card Makonko build that wants to go first wasn't the most outlandish thing in the world to me. That's kind of why I didn't really question it when my opponents led with that, but yeah, the fact that they're on Snake Eye does make a lot more sense here. So, interestingly enough, because they have the extra material in the form of the Maxi, they get to go for the IP and then link it with the Flamberge to then go for the Promethean Princess. So they're kind of getting to skip a few steps here because they have the, God, normal summon Maxi. Like, there's a lot of situations where that's a really, really good way to start your turn. I've won quite a few duels leading with normal summon Maxi. Of course, bringing back Flamberge and putting the IP in the Spell Trap Zone, and then summoning, I imagine this is Ambler, yep. I guess they're just ending with the Oak-Up? Ah, that's right, they have to then do the Axe of Fools, and as if it weren't enough, that they're doing a Snake Eye line, they also have the Angelica's Angelic Ring, which we might remember from Noble Knight, will negate the first spell card or effect that resolves each turn. So, yikes. That is a little scary, more than a little scary, in fact. We're definitely going to have to keep that in mind as they have this up, in addition to, of course, the Flamberge IP, pretty standard Snake Eye stuff. Carry was actually a phenomenally good top deck here. I'm going to lead with the Evil Twin Leela. Opponent's going to use Divine Temple to pull out the IP from the Spell Trap Zone. Makes sense. Yep, that is fine. Here's IP. Leela does resolve, especially in the Kissekeel Frost. Opponent's going to Flamberge F to summon their other Flamberge from the Spell Trap Zone as well. I'm going to Gamma Burst because I need to get the Angelica's Ring negation out of the way. Now I can triple attack, and what I'm going to do here is I want to use this now to force their IP. This is going to make their IP really bad for them, actually. They're going to have to go for, because if they make a big Appaloosa, then I can just take it, right? So they have to go for Nightmare Phoenix here, which is not at all what they want to summon here. This also doesn't target, so I didn't even have to target the IP in order to do that, right? So what I'm actually going to take here is one of my opponent's Flamberges, and then use their Flamberge to push back their other Flamberge, which would have been a good idea if I hadn't forgotten about Promethean Princess. Well, I don't know, I think that still was probably the right call, although now they could still pop their Flamberge and get some more summons. I was trying to prevent that from happening, ideally. My plan was to try to lethal them with their own Flamberge, to not have to use it as material and give them their summons, but they ended up getting their summons anyway. Although I will say, even though they got their summons, they did still have to waste their IP, and their board state as a result is not necessarily optimal. What I'm going to do here is go for Gigantic, not even use it, just battle over the Poplar. Thank God they put those monsters in defense mode. If they put them in attack mode, I would not have been able to do this. Well, actually, I could have linked and then made a 3200 Gigantic, so I could have done that. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going to Zeus here. I'm going to downer Zeus because I can wipe their whole board. They've already used Flamberge effect, so they won't get that again, right? And I'll still have another board wipe left kind of in the chamber, so to speak. So, opponent's kind of in top deck mode. I say kind of because, yep, there's always the original Sinful Spoils. This deck is never actually in top deck mode. And they're going to grab a Kurikara and Divine Coronet, which is definitely scary. That's going to represent a good deal of disruption. Normal summoning the Snake Eye Ash. I'm going to let them play out their line a little bit here before I fire off the Zeus. Because I want to make sure that... Well, I know they have the Kurikara, and if I can make them waste some extra materials... Okay, yeah, here they're going for Hita. And they're also threatening to put the Flamberge in the spell trap zone, so I got a Zeus now. I have to do it now because if I do it any later, even at the end of this chain link, yeah, Flamberge will be in the spell trap zone and they'll get 2 summons. I don't want that to happen. Kurikara does get to eat my Zeus here, but that's not lethal, which is good. 3k and stealing my Zeus is, you know, scary, but it's not lethal. In fact, I really only have to worry about one back row here, as long as I can top deck a good card, which this card line unfortunately is not. I'm just going to set everything here and pass. I'm really looking to top deck any live twin, which, to be fair, if you look at my deck, right, I have 3 Kissekeel, 2 Leela, as well as 1 Secret Password and 2 Sunny Sage. Also, my 2 Spright starters would be pretty decent top decks. But I'm really looking for a live twin, so that's 8 to 10 top decks out of 31. That's like 25, what? About a 25 to 30, so like, it's like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 25 to 30% chance to top deck what I need, which is not bad at all. That's actually pretty good odds, all things considered. Yeah, bringing back my Ash Blossom, because I don't know really. Oh, because it's a fire monster. That's why. That would make sense. Did manage to top deck a Kissekeel here. Gonna normal that and then special out the live twin Leela. Gonna link those 2 off for a Spright Elf, because I know I'm gonna need a big gigantic as part of my comeback here. Huda does have the Promethean Princess, but I have a call by, so I think we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, that's why they brought back Ash Blossom with Kurikara. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I was questioning it a little bit during the actual game itself, but yeah, no, definitely understandable. So, now I can Elf for the Jet. Jet F is going to let me add the starter, which is going to be so much extension here. Going to activate starter for a blue. Put that in the Elf zone to get the target protection, as well as grabbing a red. Summoning out the red before we overlay into the gigantic. Also, definitely worth noting that I'm at 900 life points, so definitely do not want to be activating Spright starter. Opponent's going to link Kuriboh by sacking away the Kurikara here, which actually makes sense given that I'm now threatening to battle over it anyway. I'm just going to pull out another red for my deck. I probably should just pull out a carrot instead. Nah, I guess it doesn't ultimately end up mattering too much here. Okay, linking off the Jet and red for my other Elf. Oh, because now I can just bring back carrot during their turn. Right, of course. Okay, opponent draws, normal summons Huli. I'm going to Elf for the carrot here for sure. Synchro summoning, was not expecting this. Synchro summoning Huli with the Ash Blossom for Golden Cloud Beast of Long. Not activating, just going straight to battle, but I do have Smashers as my back row, so... Getting rid of Gigantic looks weird here, but I think I just value Elf and the negates more highly. Oh my god, I came dangerously close to misplaying here. I Elfed for the Jet because I was like, oh, I have a starter left in my deck, but thankfully, I was warned ahead of time thanks to chat, and also remembered at the same time, like, oh shit, if I start her, I'm just going to lose, so... Yeah, I definitely should have just gotten the, well, I didn't have Gamma Burst, right, because I had to use that earlier. I should have brought back Blue and then gotten another Spright monster is what I should have done, but... Anyway, I'm just going to make the IP here before passing over to our opponent. God, alright. Just have to make it through one more turn. Opponent's going to try to use Great Makanko Ceremony. I'm going to Spright Carrot. I'm not even taking any chances here. I'm going to Spright Carrot and even send the IP. Because here's the thing, even if they summon a monster here, I can just use Elf and then bring back the IP. Again, using Ash Blossom to just stop this effect. I don't want them to have access to anything that could potentially swing the duel around for them. They have to set a monster, and as soon as they go to end their main, I get to bring back the IP. Now I could threaten to go for Goddess for lethal, but also top deck Secret Password, so it's like, I might as well get, like, you know, the red on board as well as, like, some more bodies, right? Like, I was gonna summon my live twin and then use that as one of my materials, but they conceded first, so, yeah. Oh, goodness, that was, like, one of the most insane games I've played in quite a while. Again, 10-turn, very, very back-and-forth duel with Makanko Snake Eye. Yeah, it was a little scary a couple of times there, especially when I was in top deck mode. And that first top deck of the call by, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna lose this duel, aren't I? But then I got that next turn, and I managed to rip the live twin. Oh, so good. We do even have a couple more games to watch, including yet another one against Snake Eye. So let's go into that. Okay, like I said, this is going to be our third game against Snake Eye. I have another duel to show after this. It's going to be us going second against Brandon, though. But this one is us going first against another Snake Eye player. And yeah, yet again, another very, very good turn one hand. This hand is actually potentially capable of doing Nightmare Griffin under the Elf, because we have the live twin plus the extender. Actually, if starter is the other card we open, we might still not have enough bodies to do that, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, we're going to Gigantic for blue, and then our opponent's going to droll, so yeah, no more adding. But like, even if I'd been able to add off of Jet, that doesn't actually get me another body, because it's not like I can do 2 starters in a turn. So yeah, actually, never mind, I was not able to do that setup here. I mean, I could still do the turn 1, you know, or like the 1-card combo setup, but... because I can make the IP here and then still use the starter that I have to go for... I'll just go for Carrot here. But yeah, I mean, Jet, IP, Carrot, Valor, C, Crossout. It's definitely not a bad combination of cards to have going into your opponent's turn. They're going to pitch the Silvera for the Diabell. I'm going to use my Elf to bring back Jet here. Just to have a body for the Carrot to sack off for its effects, right? I can also use Jet to add starter. Once again, I do really like adding the starter because it is, especially with a hand like this, it's enough to get plays by itself, right? Opponent is going to use the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. I thought about using Underworld God or making Underworld Goddess here, but I was like, you know what? I crafted this card. I want to show at least one game in this video where I summon this thing, so I went for Nightmare Griffin. Even though it probably wasn't ideal because my opponent does have a zone where they can summon a monster too. I'm just going to Valor their Snake Eye Ash here and be like, yeah, this is probably going to be enough. Again, it would have been optimal to go for Underworld Goddess, but again, I'm like, I crafted this stupid card, I want to use it. Thankfully for me, it seems they were not aware of the fact that they couldn't summon off of Snake Eye Ash, so they tributed for nothing there. Now they're gonna Krieg Kara and take my Nightmare Griffin though, which is like, ooh, that's bad. That's bad. I'm definitely now regretting summoning Nightmare Griffin over something like Goddess, although to be fair, Goddess would have been a lot to deal with as well. So now I'm also locked under the same condition of can't use effects unless they're linked, of special summon to monsters, but it's actually not that big of a deal here. I can just normal summon Spright Elf, activate starter, put blue in the zone under Elf. I can now use both blue and Elf's effect. They have an Ash Blossom, but funnily enough, my last card, my face down card anyway, is Cross-Eye Designator, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that, and then they just concede here, so... yeah, that was scary for like a second there when they took my Nightmare Griffin and threatened to use it against me. But thankfully we were able to play around it. It wasn't even really that difficult for our deck in particular. So, okay, like I said earlier, we have one more game to check out. Let's go ahead and see that. Yeah, I really wanted 4 duels of me beating Snake Eye. But you know what? I'll take a game against Brandon Despia, especially when we're going second. I'll definitely take that as well. Definitely a very good going second hand here. We have not only the infamous Ash Blossom, but also Imperm as well. Fusion Deployment's going to come down for the Cartesia here, normal summoning the Springen's Kit. Not using my Imperm on that because I know they're just going to add the Brand Diffusion. It's like, they'll -1 to do it. They have to put a card back, so I'll just wait for the Brand Diffusion and then Ash Blossom that. Also because they have Cartesia, I want to use the Imperm against that, potentially. Well, I had to think here, actually, for a moment before I decided if I wanted to Imperm, because, you know, I know they're threatening to go into Granganol, and I could have actually waited and used the Imperm on the Granganol on the next turn, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like there are definitely pros and cons to it. But I think this was fine. I'm trying to think, actually. I'm really trying to think if it would have... Well, no. Actually, in this situation, it's better that we negate the Cartesia because, yeah, now they're going to use the effect during the main phase and we have the triple attack in hand. I was actually thinking of a different game where I had Valor and Imperm, and I chose to Valor on... Well, of course, Valor on their turn, but then I had to figure out if I wanted to use the Imperm on Cartesia or on Granganol on my turn. That's what I was thinking of, but... Now here it's easy. Yeah, again, here we just we imperm the Cartesia on their turn, so they use the effect during my main phase, and then I can use the triple attack in my hand. Which in fact I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to steal this Coritis and not have to worry about it even a little bit. So I'll just link off the Coritis with the Kiskeel Frost in order to go for my Spright Elf. And that also makes it so the Coritis will not trigger, because it only gets the Albaz if you summon like from the graveyard, right? Or if you send it to the graveyard by a card effect. But linking a monster as a material is not sending it to the graveyard by a card effect, even if you did use a card effect to take control of that monster. And then, yeah, here I can just blue for Jet, go for the Gamma Burst, enter battle phase, and my opponent knows what's up. They're just going to concede. So there we have it. There are our twin Spright duels. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching these. And thank you to everyone who watched, because I played... The Nightmare Griffin game I played after the stream, but the rest of these were played live. So thank you to everyone who watched these live as well. If you're interested in watching the live versions of these games, go ahead and check out the description below. You'll find a link over to my Twitch, as well as to my second YouTube channel, both of which will have VODs on them. And also, if you want to catch future live duels, definitely don't be afraid to follow over on Twitch or subscribe. That way you will get notifications of when I go live. But that is going to do it for this video. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.